Welcome back to the Dad's Project podcast. On this episode, we are fortunate to have Mr. Miles Davis. He is an entrepreneur and girl dad of two, a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. And on this episode, we talk about what it means to be Dad 3.0. We talk about the emotional growth that it takes, servant leadership, and so many other great insights from Miles as a successful business leader and a successful dad and partner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let's hear and learn from Miles Davis. Miles, welcome to the Dad's Project podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. Pumped to have you on the show. You know, someone that we've been connected for a long time in similar fields, and now by just beautiful synergy, we're kind of back focused on impacting the same people. So I'm excited to connect. You know, recently you shared something on social media, and the quote was, "Your kids may not remember what you told them, but they'll remember how you live." What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think, being a dad and obviously there's no manual for being a parent. And we kind of go off of what maybe experiences we had as kids with our parents. And I remember vividly as a kid, whether it was a parent or even another adult would say something to me, but then the way they lived and the action that followed what they said verbally was totally two different things. I remember as like a 10 or 11-year-old kid being like, wait a minute, what you're saying and what you're doing aren't the same. And that stuck with me. And then when I became a parent, I felt the same type of feedback from my kids, my two daughters, where they'll say, well, Daddy, you said this, but then you went and did that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these little kids are like, geez, they are just like filters for all of the BS that us as parents try to get by them. And kids are so smart. They know it. They are sponges. They remember things that as adults, we just kind of say in passing. And so that quote was something that resonated with me because I felt personally accountable once my daughter started calling me out on that stuff. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it's amazing what they retain. You think they're not watching, you think they're not listening, but they're literally paying so close attention. And I love that quote and that idea behind it. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
You know, you're a father of two girls. You've got Peyton, 13, and Madeline, 11. What has been your personal biggest area of growth as a dad?
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the emotional side. I think as guys, we look to learn things logically. I need to learn how to, manage a career so I can bring home a paycheck. And, I need to learn how to, make sure everyone's clothes get cleaned and the bills are paid and utilities and blah, blah, blah. But I think what my biggest thing is the emotional side, learning how to just have a relationship and to be transparent, not only as a dad, but as a human, and say, hey, look, let's chat. Like you seem down or you seem super stressed about something, let's connect. And so I learned to always have that space with my two daughters, that they know that they can go to myself or their mom, my wife, to do the same thing, and always have that open line of communication. So that was a big thing for me on the emotional side, just to know that, hey, at any given time, I need to be ready to have a chat. If I see something, or maybe my daughter just comes in and just lays something on me like, hey, Dad, I really had, a tough day at school, and here's why, can we talk about it? And I always want them to feel like they can, even if maybe I'm not 100% in agreement with how they responded to a situation or how they feel, but I want them to always feel like they can have that conversation. So just keeping the relational doors open was a big learning experience for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I know I've got a young daughter, so I'm going to look to you for this inspiration as a girl dad.
Yeah.
She's 20 months as of yesterday.
Congrats.
So behaviorally, what does that look like as she grows up, from now until 13, where your experience is? How do I keep that door open? What are the behaviors I need to exude to facilitate success in that area?
Yeah, I think it starts with habits. One of the things that my wife Dina does so well is she really pushes us as a family to have that structured dinner time, right? So for me, that means, no screens, no phones, and we have time in our family built in for just that, those conversations. Obviously, with your daughter being that age, I think it's all about being there for her.
Yeah.
Kids don't need perfect; they just need present, right? There's a big difference. We think, oh, because we're not the perfect parent and we've had our struggles, that means we can't give value to our children, but that's not how they see us. They remember us being present. They remember us not staring at our phone when they wanted to come show us something that they even something like a rock or something that they want to just show us,
Yeah.
right? That's what they remember. And so once you grasp that as a parent, that present means more than perfect, then you're free to be a messy human being and allow them to be messy with you. And then that relationship just continues to grow from where you're at now, 20 months to by the time they hit the teenage years.
I'm writing that down. Present
Mhm.
means more than perfect.
Correct.
I think that is such a powerful idea because you're right. There's no user's manual. I think one of your posts talked about that as well, or you just mentioned it. We
Hmm.
don't know what we're doing, so we're like, oh, if I don't say the right thing or if I don't show up in the right way, it's not they're not gonna turn out okay.
Correct.
But really, what they need is just being there. And I love that you shared the phone example, right? Something that we always talk about is when our daughter looks to us for approval or excitement or love, that we're looking back.
Correct.
And I think it's a constant struggle. Um, you are not, you're a human that is a coach. You've been coaching in the health, fitness, mental health space for a long time. Where do you see men in general, but also one step deeper, dads struggling right now in the world? Where do you see that big struggle?
Yeah, I feel like I could write a book on that question alone. I think the biggest thing I see right now is distraction. Society is built, especially with technology the way it is now, to distract us, whether it's the Netflix show, your buddy's fantasy football league, your buddy's group chat, your favorite sports team, and you can sign up for 100 different updates, right? Updates on your Apple Watch, updates on your phone, updates on your Alexa. There's so many ways for us as dads and men to be distracted. And I think too, the mindset that a lot of us have been taught, can be twisted wrong, meaning, yes, dads need to be providers and we need to, excel in business and our careers, and that is important. But I think a lot of us men, me included, we kind of stop our love there. We say, okay, yeah, I'm successful. I'm in my mid 40s. I've got a great career going. That checks the box of success as a parent. I can put my kids in any school I want. I can pay the tuition. I can live, our family can live in a nice neighborhood that's safe. And we as men equate that as a love. Like that's enough love. Where our
Right.
daughters, our wives, our sons need more than that. They need that presence. They need that emotional connection. And so many kids would gladly trade in all those quote unquote perks of life to have a parent that's actually present. And I think so to me, the biggest thing to when you ask me that question is distraction. I think that's a big thing. I think also, men that grow up in faith and in some type of faith who start to abandon that and they kind of lose their roots. They lose, their passion of what they truly believe. And they kind of sit on the sidelines when it comes to certain moral issues in their family. And they don't stand up to be the leaders like as they should. So I think that's another thing. Guys are now just allowing, mom to kind of dictate morality in the family versus men actually dictating it and living by it. So I think that's a big struggle that I see with guys. And then the other thing is just not taking care of our own bodies, our own selves, putting that kind of proverbial like putting on your own oxygen mask first in the airplane before you help somebody else out. So
Yep.
guys are, filling up their calendars with golf trips, with buddies dinners and get-togethers and all that stuff and ball games, and so we're busy, but are we really spending the time the way we should with our family? Are we investing just as much in our family as we are in our career or our golf game or anything else? And I keep referring to golf because that's a big weakness for me. I love golf and I would play it, every other day if I could, but I also know that there's so many other things that are more important than that. And I need to understand that I could have the best golf game or the best fishing skill or whatever, whatever hobby is. You can hunt all the time, but if things aren't right at home, it's not going to matter. So, again, distraction, being grounded really in your faith and your beliefs, whatever those are, and really holding fast to that. I think that's super important. And then just protecting our time, protecting our free
Yeah.
time, making space for our family to just be messy people, messy present people, and not, keeping everyone on the run just because that's what our neighbors are doing.
Yeah, so many threads I want to pull on there. I think the first one is that the common way that men choose to show love or feel comfortable showing love is that provider,
Hmm.
right? And I've talked about this on other episodes where, we're pulled in this direction that like you've got to work hard, you've got to grind, you've got to be the provider so you can put them in a nice school and do all these things. But me as a dad, I know many other dads are similar. They also have this pull. It's like, I want to be home. I want to be present. I want to be
Correct.
a part of their life. And
Hmm.
it's that unnatural pull societally that we're challenged by. So how do you find, and I hate using the word balance, but I can't think of a better word right now. How do you find that congruence
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
the two of like showing up in your career so you can be the provider while also being present? What's the habit behavior that you use to make that happen?
Yeah, I think the secret sauce for me, and I didn't know it for several years, was just it was the guys I hung out with. If I was hanging out with guys that were up, always hitting the bar and the party scene, even as married men, and they're well into their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and just ignoring a lot of that, I think it would be easier for me to fall into that, being honest with you. But I think it's really protecting and understanding who you hang out with, trying to find other positive influences of other men who are doing what you want to do. So you find the
Yeah.
guys that are actually waking up, taking their family to church. That are making time to go see their kids' baseball games or being present for their daughter, showing up to the daddy daughter dances. All those things, like you connect with those guys. I think it's a lot easier to have that balance or congruence that you mentioned. So I would say check who you're hanging out with. Who are your top five guys that you're texting all the time? Are they guys living the life that you want to live? Or are they guys kind of pulling you in a direction that, if you hung out with them more, you could see yourself drifting further and further away from your family?
Yeah, the old adage of, you're a product of the five people you spend the most time with. Like,
Yeah,
who are
big
those
time.
people? And I think
Big
even
time.
today's time, it's even amplified because not only are you with them often, but you're texting them. You're on social
Hmm.
media. Who are you following? Who are you listening to? Like,
Correct.
who are those influences on you? The second thread I wanted to pull on there is that distraction piece. That is like my biggest thing with Dad's Project is how are you becoming more present?
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So,
yeah.
what is that tool? What is that tool in behavior? How can we become more attentive and present for our family?
I think the biggest thing that helped me was from time to time taking an inventory of how my calendar was broken out. So, meaning like, all right, you've got 4 or 5 work meetings on a typical Tuesday, great. But what's happening between those meetings? Are you hopping on Words with Friends or Scrabble? Are you just scrolling on Instagram for 2.5 hours? Like, so I think what I like to do is to look at what am I doing from when I wake up to when I go to bed, and looking at okay, what amount of time am I spending that's not productive as a dad? Like again, I love freaking golf. So I'm being vulnerable here. And I can't tell you how many times as a business owner, I'm like, man, I see my calendar. I have 90 minutes between my next client. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to run to the driving range and I'm going to work on my swing. Right. And so you do that once. And then it's like every time that the calendar opens up, I'm like, man, I'm feeling drawn to this. Like this is like ridiculous. This is like a drug, right? And that could be any hobby, anything where
Yep.
you're just getting sucked in. It could be a game on your iPhone, like I said, or a certain YouTube channel or a certain app that maybe you should or shouldn't be looking at. All those things could like really grab us. So I think taking that personal inventory of how am I spending every single minute of my day and then trying to work a plan as far as like, all right, how can I be more productive? Like again, I'm an entrepreneur. So am I going to make my family more money by going to the driving range or calling on some prospects that were interested in my business, but I haven't yet followed up, or working on writing new content, or developing my staff and employees? All those things could be, used more wisely than what I would love to do. My natural flesh is like, man, Miles, just put all that on the back and let's go out and let's do you. You got up early today, you got your kids to school, pat yourself on the back, treat yourself, right? And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we treat ourselves in a lot of different ways. It could be food, alcohol, it could be all the other things that we talked about. So for me, it's taking inventory of my day and looking at, all right, where am I spending unnecessary time that's not really helping me or my family?
Yeah. Show me your calendar and I'll show you your priorities.
Yeah, definitely,
Right.
definitely.
So, are you able to involve the girls in golf? Do they play? Do they want to play? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, every golf dad's dream is to have his kids love golf and love the game as much as he does.
Yeah.
But I try to at this age, I don't want to force it on them. It's kind of the same thing about the gym, right? Because I own a gym, so people are like, oh, I bet your girls are in there all the time working out. I'm like, no, they've got their own hobbies, and so I never wanted to force that on them and say, hey,
Yep.
look. We do CrossFit as a family, so you're doing it. I don't care about your passion for dance or cheerleading or cross country. You're doing CrossFit. So I never did that. So I take that same approach with golf. I want it to be fun and optional. I wish my parents had showed it to me when I was 12 years old. I kind of didn't find it until later on in life in my late 20s. But I think just having that freedom for them to know that it's there, it's on the table. Daddy likes to play. Hey, you want to hang out with daddy? Maybe go get some ice cream later. We can go to the range, work on some things for a little bit, and then let's just go get some ice cream and hang out. So I always try to pair it
Yep.
with something else that they might like it and just be like, oh, wow, it doesn't have to be this like arduous thing where I have to do it because my dad really likes it. It's like, oh, I can actually spend time with my dad by doing it. So that's how I've taken it approach wise right now.
Yeah, I really appreciate that approach. I think I've got an 11-year-old stepson as well, and watching the baseball, football, basketball dad scene,
Yeah.
I think more dads could take that approach of like, I'm not trying to recreate my childhood or live
Right.
my dream. It's like,
Right.
what do they actually enjoy? How do we make this fun for a lifelong passion or what they actually want to do? So I love that sentiment.
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of work into Dad 3.0. Tell
Yes,
me about
sir.
the program.
Yeah, so it really started last year, mid 2024. I knew that I loved working with dads at my gym. And at my gym, we do a lot more than just standard group classes. When you think of a CrossFit gym, that's what most people think. But we've
Yep.
really evolved our service offerings to offer a lot of other things like nutrition, coaching, even mindset and mentorship type of programs, personal training. And some of the best stories I've had over the years have been working with dads who struggled with a lot of things that you and I have just talked about last few minutes, and then seeing them be involved in a community, and then seeing them basically risen because all this whole rising tide raises all ships, that type of mentality. And you literally see people transform their lives. I'm like, holy cow! Like this isn't just about swinging a kettlebell and jumping on a box. This is so much more. And I had seen specifically one of my favorite clients. His name is Jason, and he had a very, very difficult, run of life the last couple of years. Ended up losing his wife to cancer. So he's a single dad raising a 6-year-old daughter, and to see him pour into an environment like the gym, like my gym specifically, and seeing his life rebound, for lack of a better term, after that
Yep.
traumatic event last year was just amazing. And so I saw that, and then I would talk to other guys on the group chats or in the neighborhood or wherever, old high school buddies, old college buddies who don't even live in the area. They said, man, again, Miles, I love what you're doing. I just wish I lived closer. And that just kept echoing over and over and over again. And I said, you know what? There's got to be a way to take what we do in the four walls of my brick and mortar facility for dads and expand outside of that and find dads who otherwise would never step foot in a gym. Maybe they're intimidated, and that even as a guy, I think a lot of guys wouldn't necessarily admit that. But being intimidated to start back working out again. Maybe it's been five
Yep.
plus years. Maybe it's been since COVID since you finally really got back to more. What's the word I want to look for? Just a more consistent exercise routine, right? When am I going to start working on myself as a dad? So it
Yep.
started last year, and then I really just didn't have all the tools yet to understand how can I reach people with content, but then also how can I serve them? What tools can I use to serve them? And so this dream is now become a reality this spring, where we've got the resources now. We've got resources for guys who say, look, I don't want to be in a gym. I don't have time to spend an hour to just back and forth in the gym, then an hour at the gym. That's 2 hours out of my vital time. So I need time efficient workout options. And so we at Dad 3.0, we will have remote training options, virtual. You don't need any equipment, or maybe you just have an old kettlebell that you bought during COVID and that's all you have. We can get you in
Yep.
shape with that. Same thing from the nutrition standpoint. We're seeing a lot of, two working family households. So mom and dad are outside the house working, and that makes it difficult for families to plan meals. So we've got meal planning options and even prepaid or prepared meal options for Dad 3.0 participants. So those who are just need to make it super easy to eat well. We've also got a relationship with a functional medicine doctor who can basically order full blood work panels. We can see what's going on from a testosterone standpoint, all these other hormonal type things, and we can really
Right.
look under the hood without ever having someone come into the four walls of our gym. So high level is we're going to be able to serve dads just as well as if they walked into our gym. We're going to give them time efficient workouts. We're going to give them solid lifestyle mentorship, accountability, and of course, nutrition accountability. So all that under one roof online is what Dad 3.0 is going to be about.
Nice. So we're hitting mental, we're hitting physical. Is the community aspect? I know that's a huge plus of your gym specifically, and what I think a big impact has been, like the story you shared. Are we bringing that aspect into Dad 3.0? What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So they're going to have a couple options actually. So the community aspect is huge. And again, it was so pivotal for me personally in terms of my own fitness and my own consistency. So yes, you will be around like-minded dads and you're going to feel seen, supported, heard, understood as a dad, because that's all we're going to serve. So this isn't a group where, okay, yeah, we've got dads, but then we got, just folks just graduating college and they want to get into fitness, right? That group isn't for them. This
Yeah.
group is for men who really need to get moving again. They really need that accountability. And then there will also have, in addition to the group accountability, there will be some options for one-on-one accountability. So if someone
Gotcha.
just needs to work with me one-on-one for a while, for a season before they get into the group, they'll have that option as well.
Okay. Man, that's exciting. Guys, we're going to make sure to put all the info in the show notes so you can follow Miles. And as this launches, launch date, it's coming soon. What's that look like?
Yeah, we're looking at about mid-June. So
Okay.
from this recording, I guess, 45 days or so, we're going to do an initial case study with about 5 to 7 dads first. That has already sold out. And then after
Okay.
that, we'll be ready to launch the program mid-June.
Okay. Guys, make sure you follow Miles and follow us. I'll be sure to share stuff that I see, Miles, and you can push it to me and I'll share it as well on our social media. If you're interested, guys can jump in mid-June. That sounds like a
Awesome.
great opportunity. Let's get into your dad leadership principles that you shared with me. Number one, always lead by serving. Tell me more.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that. I'm a man of faith, and there's a great scripture talking about, he who wants to be first needs to be as if they're last. And I'm paraphrasing there, but meaning if even me today as a almost 16-year CEO of my company, understanding that if I want my message as a leader to be really heard and understood, then they need to see me doing what I'm asking. And that can be from an employee standpoint, also a client standpoint, and then of course a family standpoint. So if I'm preaching, basically about I want my older daughter to start taking care of my younger daughter better and serve her in a certain way, then she needs to see me serving my wife Dina in that same way. And
Right.
so I think that is so important versus just barking out orders and commands. So basically, having that servant mindset is something that I found to be way more impactful than any other words or shouting ever could be.
Yeah. Servant leadership, such a powerful philosophy to lead. So I love that you shared that one, number one. Number two, put my oxygen mask on first. You talked about this one already. You've hit on it. Let's go one step deeper. Exactly what does that look like for Miles?
Man, so for Miles today, fully transparent. My dad is in his early 70s, and he is basically having some challenges in terms of cognitive impairment. ability to do things that he normally was able to do 10 years ago are now a challenge. My stepmom, Lou, is amazing. She is just an absolute rock. And watching her serve him has been an inspiration for me. And so when they both need my help, because they live here locally, I need to be able to have the energy to do that. So let's say, heaven forbid, there's some type of emergency where I need to go leave work and I need to go handle something or help out my family. I need to have the energy to do that. But if I'm just, I'm working around the clock, I'm not focused, I'm not feeding my body well, that's so much of a tougher ask than it is if they know, hey, you know what, Miles is always ready to jump in and help. I know he has the energy for it. I know he has the focus for it because he's taking care of his body mentally. So for me, it's taking care of my body mentally, but then also physically making sure,
Right.
as you had mentioned, Nick, looking at what we're reading, what am I consuming from a content standpoint, so my mind isn't polluted and cloudy and unsure. But if I'm sure, I know exactly what my objective is and what my life mission is, then it makes it a lot easier to serve and to have that proverbial oxygen mask first.
Yeah, the complexity of aging parents, I think, is something that isn't talked about enough. I know my parents, similar age to you, early 70s, dad challenges, very similar to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just one more thing that gets added to the shoulders of the dad, right? Not only are you being pulled professionally, you're being pulled to lead your home and be present, but then you've got this extra responsibility that maybe you didn't see coming.
Correct.
And just like you said, if you're not taking care of you, it is hard to carry all of those loads. So just a reminder, and I'm so glad that you shared it. Like, you've got to put your mask on first to
Definitely.
truly be present. Last but not least, show my work. What does that look like?
Man, I'm trying to remember what I was thinking when I wrote that. Show my work.
I've got a quote for you to help. You
Yeah,
ready?
let's go. Hear it. Let's hear
I,
it.
I don't try to be perfect. I just try to be transparent.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we talked about. You asked me about, presence over perfection, right? Like, if I'm telling my daughter, like, hey, daddy's gonna fix your bed frame or something like that. Like, I want her to see me doing that. I want that work to be transparent. I want her to see daddy kind of struggle with, oh, what is this part in the car? I want to change this part out and, research it, maybe fumble around with it. Like, I think sometimes, these kids today, they don't have it very difficult. There's so much that's given to them. And so, like, I want them to see a little bit of struggle. Like, I want them to see, yeah, dad didn't have it all figured out, but he stayed with it. He stayed consistent. And then he actually had the humility to ask for help, right? Instead of like, oh, I'm perfect and dad will figure out and never show any weakness or anything like that. I think there's some impact to seeing a parent or seeing someone that you really respect not have it all together and struggle with it and maybe even seek help, or seek a coach or write an email or reach out to somebody who's maybe done it before and ask for
Yeah.
advice. So I think that's how I interpret that, showing my work. Like, I want them to see me live. I want them to see me make a mistake and figure it out and move forward after that.
Connecting that back to what you shared earlier with your biggest challenge as a dad, are you also showing them the emotional work that you're doing? How are you sharing that side of you?
Yeah, good question. I think probably the easiest way I've shared that is through the content. I'm a carpool dad, so I spend easily, 2.5 hours in the car every single day running carpool. So the biggest way that I do that is we talk about what we listen to. So if daddy's listening to a podcast or a mentor or a YouTube channel or something like that, I want it to be information that they know is building me up, right? Whether,
Mm.
it could be financial information, it could be business leadership subject. It could be a subject on marriage. It could be a subject on parenting. But I want them to see that. So the easiest way for me is in the car, because we're in the car so dang much as a family. My wife, same thing. Our kids are in two different schools right now. So my wife's taking one kid to one school. I'm usually in charge of taking and bringing back the other one. So a lot of time in the car. So that's the easiest way for me to show it.
Yeah, car conversations. That sounds like a podcast for you and your daughters.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be
Excited to hear
entertaining. Yeah.
it. Okay, so always lead by serving. Put your oxygen mask on first. and we're showing our work. We're showing up vulnerable. We don't have all the answers. Those are your three principles.
That's it.
Amazing, amazing principles. I'm going to change up this last section a little bit.
Yeah.
Typically, I ask the habit or mindset, but because you're a coach, because we're diving into Dad 3.0, if I'm a dad, I haven't been putting on my mask. I'm pulled every which way. I want to take that first step into being better for me so I can show up better for my family. What's that first step? What do you tell a dad that comes to you and wants help?
Yeah, great one. I think most dads are stuck there because they have these mental blocks of, well, I can't work out because I can't find time for the gym, right? So I can't eat well because I'm too busy to cook. And so what I do is in those type of conversations, I start to disarm them, for lack of a better term. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Bob, I'm going to show you a solution where you can work on yourself, get yourself fitter physically without ever leaving your house, without ever having to purchase another piece of fitness equipment. I'm going to help show you how to be held accountable for all of the lifestyle changes that you want that you want to make, all with just talking to me and basically going from there. So I want to disarm all of those objections ahead of time because as dads, we are so good at selling ourselves on why things can't work, why
Right.
things are blocking us from moving forward. So once I can get them to unclench their fist, kind of, figuratively and sometimes even literally, and realize, oh, there are options where I can work out. There are options where I can eat better, right? All those things are reasons why guys and ladies as well don't take action. And once we can disarm those, then we can start to move forward. And then it's super easy after that. Then it's meeting them where they are, having them understand that they don't have to have it all together. They just need to have one step forward. And so then mentally, we just come up with, hey, let's just focus on the first 3 weeks. Let's focus on the first 5 or 10 pounds. Let's see. Let me prove to you that you can get moving, get feeling better, get your energy back, get your mental clarity back, all without leaving the house.
Yeah, and I think removing that overwhelm. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
earlier, it's been a while. It's hard to get back in. Our ego maybe gets involved, and we're like, "Oh, this is going to be hard. People are going to judge me."
Correct.
We take that away and say, "Hey, what's the next easiest step?" I think Michael, the
Correct.
podcast you mentioned earlier, I think he shared that. What's the next easiest step
Yeah,
to
that's a
get things
great
moving in the
summary.
right direction? Yeah. Miles, what is your one text message? If all dads were going to read it, what's that message to dads?
mm. One text message that I would send to all dads. I would say you deserve better. Your family deserves better. You deserve a better version of you. And you deserve a guide who will help get you there.
You deserve better. Your family deserves better. And you deserve a guide to help you get there.
That's it.
Beautiful. Last question. This is a special one from the show. We're actually going to use a question submitted from our last guest. And then after we stop recording, you get to leave a question for the next guest. So
Okay.
your question, because of some technical issues, is actually coming from Michael Anders, who I believe you listened to the show.
Yeah.
And the question is this: what did you let go of in pursuit of success that you wish you would have held on to?
Ooh. Wow. That's a good one. Because I can tell you the first part of that question, I was like, man, I can tell you exactly what I let go of, but what do I wish I had not,
Held on to.
man, that I, so let me rephrase it. So what did I let go of in pursuit of success that I wish I had not? Um, hmm. Wow. Let me think about that one. I would honestly say, because again, coming from a place of vulnerability, I let go of being emotionally present for my family and my wife. My wife would probably disagree with that, but knowing me, I know when I started, I held back emotionally. I tried to hold back emotional bandwidth, and my family suffered for that for the sake of starting my business. And so that's something that I wish I did not do. I would not be as present on vacations. I would, him and all, oh, we're going on vacation again. Like, not living in the present moment because all I was
Mm.
consumed with was building that business. And so, thank God I have an amazingly patient wife and super successful and super loving. But man, it took me years as a dad for that damn light to come on to realize my life is more than just building a business and bringing home a paycheck. And I wish I'd learned that 10 years before.
How has that change impacted you? Obviously, it's impacted home. You're present with your family, your wife, your daughters. Has it had a positive impact on business as well? Because I think that's the struggle.
Yeah.
People fail to connect. If I show up better at home, it's going to take away from work. How has it
Yeah.
contributed to a positive impact on work?
Great question. I think it is magical. It is absolutely magical. Whatever you let go, whatever you willingly surrender, chances are that whatever that is, that thing that's on your heart that you love so much that you're so like enveloped, you're just like, oh, you love this thing, you're consumed by it. But as soon as you let it go and you surrender it, then yes, it does grow. There's no mathematical formula that I could give that would back that up, but it's life and it's an experience. And you're absolutely right. Once for me, I had played around with, working for another company at the same time that I owned the gym about a year or so ago. And once I gave that up and said, you know what, the gym and this type of work that I do is the most life-giving work that I think I could ever do. And this is what I'm meant to do. This is part of my life's mission. And so once I gave up that other side hustle, so to speak, the business just continued to grow. So
Mm.
yeah, I would absolutely say that it's not something that, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 and a logical thing. I think as guys, we like to hide behind the muse of logic per se and not let our emotions guide us. And I think that's one thing where we have to let that go. We do. And
Yep.
for me personally, it just comes from my faith and what my beliefs are. But yeah, if we let it go, if we submit it, we surrender it, then we can see it grow. You can think of it like a seed. For a seed to really grow, it has to die. It has to go in the ground for it to become a tree or a bush or a flower. And so our dreams have to die. Our passions have to die. And once we realize that, then the sky's the limit.
Miles, I think that's a powerful way to end. Guys, so many great takeaways from the show today. Miles, we'll make sure to leave all of your info that you shared with me already in the show notes, so I'm not going to make you regurgitate it. Check out the show notes. Follow Miles. He's got Dad 3.0 coming up mid-June. It sounds like something that so many dads need. Miles, thank you so much for being on the show, showing up, being present with us today, and setting the example as a girl dad for me
Yeah.
and for so many other dads out there. I truly appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you, Nick, and I appreciate your passion for this subject and this group, and with using your experience as a dad and all that you said. And speaking of veterans, I think that's huge. So applaud you for putting yourself out there with some amazing content. So thanks, and I'm happy to be a part of the show.
Absolutely. Guys, if you like the show, give us a 5-star review, like, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.